Hello and welcome back to our podcast, Three Brown Ladies.
We have a really special guest with us today. We met him through a mutual friend. Shout out to you, Safe. But yeah, he introduced us to this really lovely guy called Hemal. And yeah, we're really excited to have him on the channel because as soon as we connected with him, we just felt this great energy, and his purpose is to help as many people as possible. So without further ado, we'll send the introduction over to Hemal. Hi, Hemal.
Hello.
Hey guys, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. Not too bad. I guess firstly, thank you for having me on the show. You know, when you guys reached out, I've been looking at all your stuff, and I just love what you guys are doing. You know, the energy is amazing, and I just love the fact that it's a family, and some of the topics you guys talk about are amazing. So yeah, thank you for having me.
So I think initially we really want to know a bit more about you and what mindfulness means to you.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Hemal, I'm 26, and I guess my main goal is to promote this concept of mindfulness and self-growth, and really just improving who we are as people and making the world a better place. And that's really what my goal is. And mindfulness to me simply just means, you know, being in the now and being in the present moment. Because as human beings, you know, we have a tendency to either spend our time in the past or in the future. You know, even myself, growing up, I was always stuck in the past, which was, you know, the repeat of a memory in my mind that just kept replaying. And the future was just what I thought was going to happen in the future, which is an illusion. And I was missing out on the most important time, which is the time we have now. And that's, I guess, since spending a lot of time in that conscious space and being present, it's really just transformed the way I live and the way, you know, I'm operating on a daily basis. So I guess on a primary level and to the core, it's helping as much people spend their time in that present moment and be conscious of our decisions, you know, because the more time we spend in that conscious space, you know, discipline becomes easier, you know, because we can consciously decide what we're going to eat, and we can consciously decide, you know, if we want to exercise and consciously do all these good things.
You kind of always been this perfect, in control of your mind. So how did it all start for you? Like, where did the journey begin?
Yeah, I think being at home and working from home for so long has given me a lot of time to really reflect and actually think back on my journey from when I was a kid, and I guess what experiences shaped me to the person I am today. So I think growing up, I was always very shy, and I guess growing up, I'm from a traditional Indian household, and I guess I was always a good kid and was told if there was something to do, I would always do it. And I remember going to school, and I was always the good kid. I'd always do my homework first, and I'd always make sure I've done all my work first. And then
That's not like a boy, is it?
I was gonna say, Mom, you would have been in Mom's
You
good
was the
books.
perfect boy for me.
I know, like, gosh.
Yeah.
of course, and that's kind of how it started. And I remember when I was growing up, especially starting year 3, year 4, I never really enjoyed like social interactions and going to like families' houses, and weddings and events. I never really enjoyed it because it just, I always used to get bored, and it wasn't for me. And then I remember getting into school, and my confidence started to slowly increase. And I remember reaching a point in my life, which is quite scary for a lot of kids, because, you know, a lot of kids at that age don't really know what they want to do with their lives, but we're almost forced to make that decision. And I had a few options in my mind of what I wanted to do. And I guess one of them was to become a professional cricketer. And that was one thing that I had a lot of passion for. And it was either I become a professional cricketer or I go into education. And being from an Indian household, I guess the only options were to become a doctor, a lawyer, or a failure. You know, those were the only options.
Can you guess what degree I did? Law.
It wasn't me.
And it was
I didn't say anything to her. She just...
Didn't you cry when she didn't get all A's or something?
Oh yeah, Hemal, this is really bad. I was so, oh my God, I was so crazy.
I
It was
don't know
all-
why, darling.
It was all about like, you know,
Grades for her.
grades. Yeah.
So was it A levels? I got
A
an
levels.
A star, and then a B, and Mom cried about my B.
Oh.
I was like, but I got 2 A stars.
She was just worried that you wasn't going to get to uni.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I remember her teacher, like
They were like,
saying,
"Oh my
"Mrs.
God, it's so
today,
good."
she's done so well." And I was like, "No, but she doesn't even got them all A's." Oh my God.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so yeah, we get the traditional Indian background.
I
Yeah,
wanted to be a doctor,
Doctor.
but that didn't work out, did it?
Yeah, by the time we got to Kiran, she's the baby of the family. Kiran did film production at uni, so you can
Nice.
tell Mom, you know, loosened up as time went on.
Yeah, you have to learn, like you said, it's like a learning curve for parent as well as children. Yeah.
Of course, yeah. So I have an older brother, and he was in university probably when I was choosing my A levels. So he almost was the dummy child that I almost learned from his mistakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was less pressure on me kind of growing up in school. But I remember around the GCSE A level time that the pressure was on, because it was, you know, what subjects are you going to choose and what you want to do for the rest of your life. And I remember being 16 and I was like, so what I do now is going to determine what I do for the rest of my life. And I was scared because it's, how do you know at that age what you want to do, right?
No.
And then I ended up choosing psychology, biology, chemistry, and then maths. So I was always very, very, very intrigued in how the mind worked, hence psychology, and then very much how the body worked through biology and chemistry. And I really enjoyed those subjects, but I didn't pursue university after that. I ended up taking a gap year. And then I ended up working, ended up falling into business. And it was around 18 when I started to really break out of my shell and really started to uncover who Hemal really is. And that's when I got introduced to, you know, this concept of self-growth and personal development, and how, you know, if you control your thoughts and, you know, you control your mindset and your emotions and your physical health, and, you know, if you put it all together and keep working on it continuously, then, you know, you're going to live a better life. And from 18, that's kind of how the process went. And it wasn't easy. And what really made me want to fall down this path is I saw a lot of my closest people face mental health issues. So a lot of my close friends, a lot of close family, and being exposed to, you know, people going through difficult times from such a young age really makes you think a lot. And I guess from a young age as well, I guess I had a lot of people used to come to me for advice, or just used to come to me to listen, because I'd always listen. And as more and more people started approaching me and, you know, just to talk and just to listen, I started to realize, you know, if I can have a small impact on someone's life, even just the smallest impact, then, you know, that's fulfillment for me, and that's what I want to be doing. And that's kind of how the calling really came through.
Yeah, that's really so sweet. We need you around here, Hemal.
Needs
to
to
bring,
be more,
bring some peace.
I think more people like you in the world.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
definitely need more people like Hemal in the world.
As a boy, you know, what I have learned or fear, boys, they don't talk about, especially what they're really feeling inside.
Yeah.
In a men as well. So
how do you get men and boys, or younger, like boys and men, how do you get them to sort of open up and share their feelings and thoughts? Because sometimes I feel they can be very closed and they don't
share the deep whatever they're feeling.
They like to hold it, don't they?
Yeah. So
what are your thoughts?
It's a great question. I know it's such a broad topic as well, because it wasn't something that I was particularly good at myself. You know, I've been through a long process of change and help from many people for me to open up, because I guess growing up in a traditional Indian household and an Asian household, the man is almost you know, the man of the house, you know, the breadwinner, and the man always has to be the strong figure. And my dad never really opened up. So growing up and kind of going through life, I thought men didn't open up, and because men were supposed to be strong and, you know, powerful, and all these sort of things that society tells us and upbringing tells us. And I guess a lot of people growing up, and you get into school, you start to deal with difficult situations, and these difficult situations can be anything. You know, you may have things going on at home, or you might get into school and you might, you know, get into your first relationship, which might be more stressful than it's supposed to be, or you might get into bullying. Yeah, and you know, some people get into bullying.
Secrets coming out.
Whoa, okay.
Not at school, I'm just talking about stressful relationships.
Oh, I thought you meant stressful relationships at school. All right.
Yeah, so like I said, so the difficult situations start to happen, and like I mentioned before, so you get into school and you're forced to make all these big decisions in your life. And I guess men traditionally don't open up because it's a sign of weakness and kind of, I guess, vulnerability or just fear. And that was subconsciously installed into my mind, that if I open up or if I share my thoughts, then I'm going to come across weak, and I'm going to come across as if, you know, I'm not doing the right thing. And there's almost that fear as a young man that people will take, you know, jokes out of you and take the mick out of you. So it took me a long process to really open up. And I remember, I guess the biggest turning point for me was I always used to bottle all of my emotions in and always brush things under the carpet. And every 2 months or 3 months, these things would resurface and I'd have an emotion explosion. And that could be in many different ways, where I would maybe lose my temper and say things I shouldn't, or, you know, go out and get drunk, or, you know, end up falling into tears and just start crying randomly. And this was happening every so often because I wasn't facing my emotions. Until I reached the point in my life, I think I was around 18, 19, when I met my wife, who I give all of my gratitude. And she's helped me a lot in terms of opening up. And all my gratitude as well goes to my mum for helping me open up and, you know, release my emotions. And I remember reaching that point when I first met my wife, that, like, this isn't normal. And as human beings, we shouldn't be, you know, losing our temper on a constant basis. And we shouldn't be, you know, breaking into emotion and feeling anxious and crying. You know, these are things that we can actually change. So I guess, yeah, my wife and my girlfriend at the time, I guess, opened me up and said, you know, you can talk to me. And that was the first time I realized that, you know, there are people out there, and I guess everyone out there, there are people that care for you and love for you. And there are people you can speak to. So that's how I sort of started off, and that's what was going through my mind. But as I started to release my emotions more and speak up and open more, I felt a lot more comfortable.
Like, to all guys out there, I suppose what Hemal's trying to say is take that first step and just speak to someone close to you. And the second thing that I took away from that, it's a building process. Like, it doesn't happen overnight. Similar with me, and Kiran, and even Mom, speaking to you now compared to before, like, it's a journey, isn't it? It's like one step at a time to get to the understanding your mind. It's not going to happen overnight. So that's really,
I would say what Hemal, what advice would you give to your
younger self?
Not younger self, but what advice would you give to, say, like a young person
starting off,
who's not like used to opening up and stuff? What advice would you give to them?
Boy,
yeah, I think
16, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Probably younger than that.
Okay.
You'd be surprised though, there's guys right up into their 30s who have never been able to open up. So this message could go out to anyone who's just not used to opening up.
For sure. I think if I could go back and, you know, tell myself, or just advice I'd give people now is, I guess, firstly, that it's okay to not be okay. And I guess social media, unfortunately, has ruined the way we're living, because social media shows us that you need to be driving the nice car, and you need to be wearing the nice clothes, and you need to be going on the nice holidays. And people are forgetting that, you know, we have so much to be grateful for on a daily basis, but instead people are spending all of their time trying to look good, and trying to be the strong version, and trying to look like I'm doing well. When I guess my first advice is, a lot of that doesn't matter, and it's okay to not be okay. And I guess another thing that's really helped me a lot is just building up a support system, like I mentioned before. And especially with guys, like I have a very good group of friends, my best friends, which I consider my brothers, that we have built our own support system. And what I found is, once one person opens up, it's easier for the second person to open up, if that makes sense.
Oh, that's
And
nice.
you have to remember, we're all human beings. And one thing that was sort of taught to me a good sort of 10 years ago is just a simple process. Like, for example, if we take a look at our fingerprints right now, to think everyone has their own unique fingerprint.
Yeah, true.
No one would have the same fingerprint as someone else. Everyone has their own unique code. And that is, I guess, the first beginning sign that you are unique.
That's it.
I love that. We are unique, guys.
No, we're unique, and you can. The only person you can be is yourself, because everyone else is already taken.
Yeah.
And you know, love is the only truth. You know, it's the single most powerful vibration, frequency, energy on this universe. So if we love ourselves, we're able to give that love and compassion to more and more people.
Yeah, I do love that. Do you know what, actually, it's really good from a family point of view, that just on that point, is that mom obviously has her own personality, and then me and mom can be quite similar in our personalities, but we're not exactly the same, even though people like to say, oh, you're two peas in a pod. So sometimes when you're growing up as a child, like, it's good to look up to people, but also to have your own, make sure that you have your own sort of personality, and that's okay, like, to be who you are. And then Kiran has always been completely different.
I'm
as well.
anomaly.
No, you're not. No, you're not. You're not an anomaly.
She's a special one.
She's the special one.
She's a special child.
But what I, from like a sibling point of view, from like a daughter point of view, from just obviously my point of view, is that accepting everyone's differences is really key as well to personal growth. So just accepting mom's different to the way I think about things, Kiran's different to the way I think about things. Like, we've all come on this journey together to understand that we might not have the same view, but that doesn't mean that one's better than the other. It's about
just being different.
Yeah, it's about being different, but then accepting differences as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really like that point that you said, and put it a family spin on it as well, because I know for personal growth, that's taken me some time to I think everyone needs everyone needs to accept other people. You know, notion of helping one person at a time. What would be your best, your kind of starting tip then to anyone who wants to start a journey on mindfulness?
I guess the first step would be, again, just having a vision and a goal about what you actually want from your life. And that doesn't need to be too in-depth. It's having, I guess, short-term goals, mid-term goals, long-term goals. But just having some form of direction is very important. And I think what's, again, one of the most powerful vibrations in the world is this form of gratitude, and being grateful for the things we have on a daily basis. And, you know, sometimes we forget that we have some amazing things in our lives, and the smallest things you can be grateful for. Like, I'm grateful that we have technology to record this podcast. You know, I'm grateful that I have a house with a roof to look after me. And if we can find the small things on a daily basis to be grateful for, then we're on the right step.
Yeah, so true.
Absolutely true. Very true.
And that's something that we've recently started doing as well. you know, when things just go like change in life and it's hard to adjust to things that go wrong, me and mom and Kieran, actually, we start saying to each other, like you said, we've got a roof over our house, like we've got a roof, we've got water, we've got food. Like some people struggle to have that, and especially in today's generation and today's climate, where you're always looking for that next step, more than, it's like becoming more than any other generation, like, you know, keeping up with the Joneses. That's, I think, what we need to do, come back to basics and just say, I'm grateful for my family, for love, for life, for food, for water, for
internet.
house. Yeah,
like even internet, like I know a lot of families that struggle to have internet, so even just that itself is a luxury if you think about it.
we take things too granted.
Very true.
Very naughty.
Naughty.
Even like, even if I could give my younger self a message, and you know, all the kids, especially kids that are listening in, and young people that are listening in, is if you can be grateful for the things you have from a very young age. There's a scientifical, psychological process that takes place where that will ingrain into your brain, and that will stay with you for life.
Yeah.
So
start young, basically.
start young. So I guess, how about you guys? What tips would you give?
Come on.
Go and you start first.
So yeah, my tip would definitely be starting on this journey, you kind of need to find your own voice in the journey. So there's so much out there now to help you. There's audiobooks, there's so many motivational speakers, there's books you can read, there's, you know, go on YouTube, podcasts, there's so much out there, but not everything's going to work for you, and not everything you're going to be able to relate to. So that would be my starting tip, is find a voice that works for you and that you can listen to, relate to, and then it will make your personal journey easier. Because if you're listening to something that you can't understand, or it's not relatable to you, then you're going to struggle and it might put you off. But definitely and another thing is just patience. You need to have patience with this journey, because it's not something that's going to happen overnight. And if you just keep at it, like bit by bit, then you'll see the journey that you've had over a longer time, and you'll look back and think, actually, I've made that growth in the last few months, and it will motivate you to carry on, because then it becomes really addictive, because you can see the benefits of doing it.
Well said.
Thank you.
And yours, madam?
Well, I would say, I thought I'd say it from a different perspective, but because I work for a charity called Sports Birmingham.
You're always promoting.
No, but we do some good things. So
Yeah,
basically, we do. We have a different part of our sort of core values, and we focus on how sports and physical activity actually links with mental well-being. So basically, there's a lot of studies that show that actually doing sports and physical activity actually does help your mental well-being.
Very true.
So definitely, if you're not really into sort of meditation, definitely try doing some physical activity. So that's doesn't have to be hardcore exercise, but could just be walking, just going for a run, you know, doing a few like YouTube stuff, you know, that sort of thing does actually help as well.
Yeah, I love that. That's really good as well. Yeah.
It's two different you got physical and you got mental, you know, so, or you can combine together whatever works for you, and try that, or try both. You know, you got so much out there. You can.
What would your tip be?
My tip would be, like Hemal said, you know, try to figure out what your passion is, what, you know, what you feel really deep inside. Try to connect who you are within yourself rather than looking outside. I am trying to look within me, and I feel happy when I'm alone. I feel happy when I spend time with me. If I don't spend time alone, I get very frustrated.
Yeah, you can tell.
And very edgy.
Yeah, she gets very
I don't
aggy.
like too many people around me. So
Yeah,
if, some people,
I'm like that.
You
as
need me time.
me time. The young people, if you don't have many friends, it's really good. That actually is good sign, because you are a very strong person inside. So you learn, listen to yourself, and develop self development. Just go and ask yourself questions, and you will always get answers.
So, love that. Yeah, so I think I'm really interested to hear more about the psychology side of it and what you've learned there. So maybe for part 2, maybe?
Yeah, to be continued.
Yeah.
To be continued.
Yeah, that'll be awesome.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's been really good having you on the podcast. We've learned so much and always learning, but you've just got such great energy. We love what you're doing and keep doing it. And thanks for joining us.